Book of Psalms, chapter 34. I start at verse 11. This is Book of Psalms, chapter 34, and verse 11. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai. What man is he that desireth life and loveth many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil, and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are upon unto Salakia. The eyes of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. Verse 16, the face of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to Elohim Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Rachahakodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostles that taught me this truth. Peace and salutation to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aquat out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations who subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Brother Yahweh coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit, through the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. This lesson is inspired. I was in the spirit to try and do another video. I did one earlier about judgment. Pretty much, Spirit jumped on the Jake, and he pretty much, like a spirit of wrath fell upon him, and a spirit of wrath fell upon his Eve and her children. I don't think they were his children, but and that, I thought about it. The thing is, I don't really feel sorry for her because of the fact that scriptures talk about the Lord judgeth every day. You know, um, you know, scriptures talk about wicked men understandeth not judgment. If it happened, it was the will of the Lord to happen. The thing is, I was listening to a brother's video. He was saying he doesn't want to be judged along with these people. He doesn't want to be missile food, and that's my concern. I don't want me and my household to perish. So I try to do the will and the work of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You never know. Maybe she didn't believe. Maybe she scoffed. Who's to say? But I can't say this. These spirits getting active. Brother's been talking about of lately how much is going on, and I've noticed as of lately, it's been a lot of judgment. Again, that just happened, and then another article come out. I mean, it's like people just is like bugged out. You know what I mean? Like that frequency turning up. But ultimately, it's all the will of Yahweh Shemel Shah. You know, and that's the fear of the Lord. You know, Psalms 34 and 11. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I teach you the fear. It's like I will teach you the fear of the Lord, because the scriptures talk about the fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom. When you really understand that the Lord can get you, you can't hide from the Lord. The Lord can judge you at any moment. I was thinking about that because this individual literally probably took care of these kids, and the next thing you know, the Lord put a spirit on him. He was trying to kill him, and he killed one. They gonna put that nigga up under the jail and probably electrocute him, or however the fuck the state he in go. They do they death sentence because he killed a kid, and then like I said, a lot of them in critical, because I think she had like 5 kids or some shit like that. He put her in critical condition and the kids. I'm like, damn, like, so, and that's the spirit that the Lord's coming out with. That's the fear of the Lord. That the spirit of the love of many waxing cold. Because most people will have sympathy towards a child, but this man had no remorse, and he knew them children. It's a difference if you didn't know them. Motherfucker, when it's come to me and mine and you and yours, people tend to be, that's what's going to actually make Jacob's trouble even more detrimental and severe. Well, not detrimental, but severe. More terrifying, because it's gonna be all mans for themselves, except for the true men of the Lord, because the true men of the Lord really truly understand the brotherhood. Um, when people's trying to plot and plan and scheme on one another, brothers gonna be moving in the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, so they gonna allowing brothers to partake and sharing, and I believe that. You know, But yeah, when you take the time to really think about that, like the Lord's putting a very cold spirit out here, and all because you got violence in the earth. The scriptures tell you in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3, in the last days perilous times shall come. Meaning dangerous, fierce. I'm gonna bring out a little bit of this article because this shit crazy. Like people losing their mind, but that's the season and the times we living in. It says y'all all done fucked up. Now, couple irate about being booted from restaurant, shot woman in back of head, police say. Now, you would think that's like made up, but no. You just got people doing bugged out shit because the Lord, you got to really, that's why it's so important right now to be really like in tune with the spirit and be like heavily involved in the ministry and like in the scriptures, not in the world. You need to be 2 feet in the truth as opposed to what in the world or what. Yeah, we got to play our Clark Kent and Superman situation, but nah, because it's like, again, I told you, I be having, I know they fiery darts from Satan, you know what I mean? We all go through that, but it's like intensifying, you know what I'm saying? And I've heard brothers make mention of it from the elders on down, and higher up brothers, as far as if we didn't have this truth, we'd be bugged out, if not more bugged out, or just as bugged out as the rest of the world. The reason why we are actually like sure-footed and, still like in our right mind is because we got the truth. But if you walk away from it, that's why I said it was so cold how the Lord did that. Because again, if I'd have just like, oh, this is bullshit, or you know what I mean, like I could be very well like the former head of Columbus, you know what I mean? So it says, a married couple in Tennessee, and they Bonnie and Clyde. Which, if you go research that, I forgot where I read that. I used to read a lot of different shit, crime and all that different shit. But the guy, Bonnie and Clyde, Bonnie was a nympho and Clyde was a homosexual, or he was like he went both ways or something like that. So he didn't really want her, but she was so like. So therefore she was just following him around and was just on. And she I think they said she was the more dangerous out of the two. A married couple in Tennessee were arrested over the weekend for allegedly shooting a woman in the back of the head at a restaurant after they were reportedly booted from the establishment for acting irate. And you could tell that's Northern Kingdom. They probably just didn't want to serve them. I remember years ago, the breakfast chain Denny's, they had a lot of lawsuits because you would go on Denny's and them hunkies, them crackers, them Edomites would not serve you. You know what I mean? I remember one time, brother went in there and basically he was gonna take all the cash from us. And it's like maybe 15 of us or something like that. So we all got our cash, but pretty much he tried to use his card because he was gonna just take the cash and use his card. Boom, try to, make his move with his credit, and the bitch wouldn't take his credit. Oh, the machine is down. So it was just shit funny. Jose Montoya, 27, and his wife, 26-year-old Judith Ramirez, were both taken into custody on Sunday and charged with 1 count each of attempted first-degree murder. So if she did, or either, so basically they're saying they didn't kill him because it was attempted, employing a firearm in the commission of a felony and vandalism between $10,000 and $60,000. According to a probable cause affidavit obtained by Law and Crime just after midnight on June 15th, officers were at the Memphis Police Department responded to reports of an aggravated assault at Tequila Town Bar. Yada yada yada. First responders spoke with a male who had been working security at the time the alleged incident occurred. The security guard said he was working late Saturday evening when the bar's owner told him Montoya was acting irate inside the establishment. When the security guard approached Montoya and told him he needed to calm down, Montoya allegedly became aggressive toward the guard, who then escorted him outside of the establishment with his wife, later identified as Ramirez. During the escort, Montoya said, "Y'all done fucked up now." The affidavit states Judith advised that she opened the door and Montoya retrieved the firearm from the vehicle. The security guard advised that he observed Jose go to his vehicle, retrieve the firearm, and began firing shots at him. The security guard returned fire in self-defense during the shooting. Montoya reloaded his firearm multiple times and continued shooting at the security guard. Both Ramirez and Montoya fled the scene without rendering aid to the victim. So they shot the security guard. I thought somebody died. But you know what I mean? Like, but still though, that's like I said again, that's terrifying. Cause just imagine if you was in the club when that happened. You know what I mean? And judgment can happen suddenly. You know what I mean? That's another thing why you should always fear the Lord. You know what I mean? You know, just imagine how many people was out at that club, at that bar, and literally wasn't expecting nothing like this. You know what I mean? Again, they pat you down. You got security for the purpose to make sure a gun doesn't come into the club. Some kind of way the security guard get the shootout. You know, that's fear of the Lord, man. Like I said again, and that's another reason why, like the beloved elder apostle said, you know, you shouldn't be out in the clubs and shit. You know what I mean? Because judgment can happen suddenly at any time. You know, the scriptures tell you that the Most High God love of judgment. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get the, I'm gonna get Psalms 9. Book of Psalms. Well, I think that's Zephaniah chapter 3, but I'm gonna get this one. Psalms chapter 7 and verse 11, and it reads, "The Most High judgeth the righteous, and the Most High is angry with the wicked every day," and that's why you got judgment going forth. You know, every day. It says, "If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready." Verse 13, "He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity and hath conceived mischief." Verse 8, "The Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah, to my righteousness and according to my integrity that is in me." Because all the wicked is going to be pretty much judged to the destruction, while the righteous is going to be pretty much, you know, they recompense, their reward is going to be deliverance. You know, you're going to have destruction and deliverance happening simultaneously. You know, and again, like I say, man, it's a lot of judgments going on. Now, like I said again, I thought somebody got killed, but nonetheless, just that quick, you know, like I said, because after thinking about the little situation with the female, the guy, and the children, I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Like I said again, you would have never, they probably never expected that to take place. None of them. The guy, the female, them children, you know, and that really gives you a new outlook on, you know, how terrible Yahweh Shem Yahshua could be. And that's also lets you know how many children gonna literally like get judged in this, because the scriptures tell you that the Most High God is not a respecter of persons. You know what I mean? Children get judged as well. You know, the scriptures even tell you that in what, Ezekiel, you know, Jeremiah. You know, scriptures tell you in Ezekiel, he said, pretty much don't come against anybody that got the Thuah. Ezekiel 9 was slay utterly old and young. So, you know, the Lord is not worried about none of that. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 10. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." So, you know, the fear of the Lord is, I think that's in Ecclesiastes. As a matter of fact, it is Sirach chapter 19 and verse 8. "The fear of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shah, is the first step to be accepted of him, and wisdom obtaineth his love." You know, because if you truly love Yahweh Shem Shah, you know, what did he tell Peter? He said, "If you love me, feed my sheep." So that's why you will be putting your full strength into trying to bring out these lessons and do the work. You know what I mean? Especially now, because when you take time to think about it, like, you got all these spirits coming out of the woodworks trying to combat the truth. You know, you got to remember, what's that, Sirach? You got the world trying to combat this truth because these people love the world. They don't love Yahweh Shem Yahshua. And that's another reason why, you know, the Lord is going to, you know, kill a lot of individuals, you know. And that's actually gives you, when you sit back and think about it, meditate on it, you know, that actually helps you realize how precious this gift is. We all been called, but we don't know if we're chosen. But just to be called, you know what I mean? Because think about it, like I said, we all can think back on what we were doing or what we would probably be doing. I know what I would be doing. You know, you know, like so. It's a blessing to have this truth. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 39, or the book of Sirach, chapter. It's the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 39, and verse 28, and it reads, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of their destruction, they pour out their wrath. Salakia. In the time of their destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them." Ultimately, I believe his security guard is the one that got touched. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, but that was the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I don't believe he took his life. I thought he did at first. He said shot in the back of the head. You know, even with that, you know what I mean? Because I know I could break up situations where the bullet almost hit me in the fucking face. You know what I mean? Brains could have been every fucking where. You know what I mean? But the thing was what? It was the will of the Lord that it didn't. So it was the will of the Lord for that, because they shooting at each other. It don't necessarily mean just because you practice your aim that you know what I mean? Like it's the will of the Lord, that ultimately, is beyond that movie Wanted, or the Lord can actually make Wanted actually manifest. Motherfucker shooting around a wall, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the will of the Lord. The bullet. Motherfuckers don't even realize like when they shoot guns during like New Year's. Where you think them bullets go? Them bullets go up and they gotta come back down. How many people you think get judged on days like that? What you notice, you never hear about nobody getting killed on New Year's Day. That probably a big ass sacrifice in itself too. Because what goes up must come down. That's the laws of gravity. And that also shows you how wicked this place is. And you know what? As much as I thought about that, I never really thought about that to that moment. You never hear about a person's house on New Year's Day. Their house was riddled with gunfire from people shooting on New Year's Eve. But those bullets got to ultimately end back up on the earth, and probably in somebody, some kids. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you ever seen this movie Donnie Darko? It got the guy, what's his name? Jake. He got a sister. His sister played in that Batman with the Joker, the Dark Knight. His name Jake. He just played in that Row House, the remake of Row House. But he played Donnie Darko. If you ain't checked it out, go check it out. But a part of a plane fell off the plane. What do you think happened to that part? So there's a book of and you. That's why again, you really got to sit back and meditate, and then you think about like things that happen to people and things like I was thinking about that myself. Like I was like, damn, it's kind of difficult doing this on my own without being able to rely on a brotherhood. But at the same time, I haven't really been fucked up. Call Loyam Lay Habashmasha. Like the brother said, you got people stressed out, people trying to figure out how they're gonna do this, how they're gonna do that. I haven't had to worry about none of that. Call Loyam Lay Habashmasha. Those are blessings. You know. I was listening to a particular elder. I don't know if his video was today, but he was saying how, pretty much you got to have a mindset to not want to be in this world, to be ready to give up this world because, you realize that this world is as done, you know. So, you know what I mean? Although the Lord providing for me now, you know, this place is just so rotten and wicked. You got to be ready. What's that movie, Heat? He said you got to be ready to walk away from anything 30 seconds or less. You know what I mean? You got to be ready to give up this world 30 seconds or less. You know what I mean? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 20. chapter 10. I'm going to start at verse 26, and it reads, Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. And right now we living in a time where the son of perdition is being exposed. You know what I mean? Everybody's seeing DJ Trump for what he is, the devil. You know, it even coming out that how they helped with the Israeli situation. You know, shit, put it on the spirit to go ahead and get in there and, you know, help Israel to go to combat Iran. You know, he threatened them and shit. Because as soon as he do that, you know, what's going to happen? Russia is going to be on guard onto him. Now, the thing is, we know that prophecy's sake, you know, that micro C-HIP, that tiny technology has to be implemented. But the way that they building this system so quickly, you don't know. They could very well have this shit. Because think about it. Like, you didn't know nothing about Planeteer, but Planeteer been going on. And you know what? I noticed something too. All them strange ass calls that everybody get, them scam likely calls, that could be AI. And I didn't think about that shit till today. I'm like, man, you know, a lot of times I don't say nothing. And it'll just call and they'll listen and then they'll hang up. You know, you ever pay attention to that? You ain't never been bombarded with these scam calls, but not, I mean, like this much. But you have been recently, you know what I mean? Well, not recently, but within like the last year. Yeah, because they rolled something out. You know what I mean? You know, you don't. They very well, because you got to remember, this devil is very calculating. You know what I mean? And you got to remember, with technology, you know, they be decades before, you know, before they introduce it to the public. So think about it like this: if they just now letting us know about AI, how long have they really had AI going? Verse 27: What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. Verse 28: And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Because, you know, the scriptures, like I read Sirach chapter 39, you know, spirits created for vengeance. Well, it tells you that the Most High God is the Father of spirits. So think about this. He could put you around somebody that all you known all your life was this person love you, and did this person snap. You know, and I've been thinking about that all day. You know, like, because again, I know them kids didn't know what the fuck was going on. Man, this dude tried to kill the kids, and again, like, I'm really in the spirit. Like, I mean, you know, that's judgment. But you know, in the back of my head, I'm like, damn, that's scary, man. That the Lord could just, you know, bug a person out that quick. You know, like that movie, Cell. You know what I mean? And that's fearful. That's a fearful thing to consider. It's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living power. So if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole, Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed with that. We give all praise, all honor, all glory to call Loyam La Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Hakodash, double honors to the elders, to the apostles that taught me. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives, freedom to do so now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim, the Akwatha, to the listener and learning. Lord willing, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in a land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribe to this truth to you. I say shalom. Till next time, Lord willingly, shalom, shalom. I say Kwam Yasharallah. I say Muwath Lababal.